What's up, everybody? My name is Jason, and welcome to Small Biz. In today's video, we're going to talk about how the world's best penny stock trader just went to 38% cash, because the obvious question of this day is, if we've never had a single scenario where the stock market went up in the 2 weeks after the Fed began its rate cut cycle, like just happened last week, why in the world are so many people bullish? All that and more coming right up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, God bless each and every single one of you. Happy Monday. I'm dead fucking tired. I don't know if it's the Dallas Cowboys or the fact that I had quite a bender on Friday night. I only go out once a week, but I was wrecked, crawling back to the Uber at around 11:30 at night. You might ask why that is. Well, the world's best penny stock trader right here has 22 wins in the last 30 days, tripled his money along with a couple hundred people inside the Discord, and 15x in the last 2 years and a couple of weeks. In other words, we've made so much fucking money in the last month alone that we can barely pay our fucking taxes. But tell me in the comments below, how many of you just scored on IPST? I gave it to you as cask at 44 cents 3 motherfucking times. And while I got out too early, I got into 2 or 3 other stocks. And right now I sit at 38% cash. But I want to hear in the comments below, how many of you may have just tripled your money on that pump up to $1.33 before the rug pull last trade 77 cents on the nose? I'd love to know. This is arguably one of the most important videos I've ever done. If you give me the next 10 minutes, whether you do business with me or not, I'm going to save you from making a huge fucking mistake. If not this year, soon to be early next. I've done a half a dozen or thereabouts videos inside the Discord already this morning. And one of them had to do with the fact that if you go back 50 years, and tell me in the comments, did you just double or triple your money in IPST, formerly known as cask? And there will be a pinned comment for a promo code because the free motherfucking trials are over, if you want to pay me back, so to speak. But in the last 50 years, whenever the Fed begins a rate cut cycle like they did last Wednesday, every single time, without exception, in the next 2 weeks, the market goes down. And as I'm talking to you with the Qs at 601.50, it's not the case, because on Friday it was 600. We have yet another new all-time high. So if this continues in the next week and a half or two, it'll be the first time ever. Forgive me. Yes, I'm buying. If you know, you know. It'll be the first time ever the stock market goes up. There's been a dozen incidents in the last 40 plus years. The smallest drawdown when they start cutting about 1/3 of 1%. The average drawdown, 2.17%. Shout out to Morningstar for sharing this data. And the worst drawdown was about 20 years ago. We went down almost 14% in the 2 weeks after the first rate cut. When you add all that, and again, we've never not gone down in the next 2 weeks, ever, or at least in the last 50 years of this data. When you add into the fact that we have 9.5 calls for every put that's bought as of right now, that is insanely bullish. That is a major red fucking flag. Add in the fact that Bitcoin is fading. It's telling us risk off as rates go higher, right? Jerome Powell said, not only are we cutting last week, which they already did, he said we're cutting again, and there was a dissent that wanted 50 basis points cut. We're cutting again in October and again in December. So explain to me, how the fuck is the 10-year up at 413 right now? 13 bips higher than when they started cutting. Answer: that often happens. There's often a 2 or 3 week lag. So right now, the rising rates is in sync with the falling crypto, Ethereum, Bitcoin at 112 and change. The next couple of weeks, you need to be careful. I took a profit in CDT, full disclosure. We bought some this morning in the pre-market at 68. We only had a 5.5% position, which is about a third. It shot to 78 or thereabouts. I said, I'll take that in about an hour. We also got out of XPON in the 150s. That was a 25 or 30% if you sold it close to 160 in the last week. You could have had it inside the Discord as a newbie. But I have a story to tell you if that's not enough. And before I do, let me once again remind everybody, not only are you looking at the world's best penny stock trader, and that's basically anything under $5 a share, that's 15x his fucking money along with our clients, tripled in the last 30 days, who happens to be 38% cash, but you've got warning flags all over the place, whether it's the put call ratio, whether it's 50 years of history of us going down over the next 2 weeks, whether it's extreme amounts of optimism, or, before I forget in a senior moment, the fact that the daily MACD, my phone keeps going off, please forgive that, has been over the zero line since the first week of April. That's the second most overbought in 5 motherfucking years. But the ultimate, what really pushed me into paying attention to every ounce of fiber in my being to get to 38% cash, and I had to send another 5% or thereabouts to the IRS because I can barely keep up with my fucking taxes in a taxable E-Trade account. We had a gentleman, and I'd love to, and I hearken to, I'm stretching to call him that. I'd love to have him comment in the Discord or on YouTube. I'm not going to rat you out with the email. You do that. I dare you. He reaches out to me within the last 2 hours. Been with us since October of 2023, a month after we opened. Should be up 14x or close to it. And he says, and I quote, I'm calling bullshit on your 14. Now it's close to 15x in the last 2 years. I'm only up 434%, end quote. And we've had a couple hundred like him quit in the last 6 months with the same sort of excuse or bullshit. I never made any money. I only made 300%. I can't get my averages down to where you are. I think you're fucking lying. I've heard it all. When you have someone risking getting fired and calling bullshit because he only made 434%, you know that we're in Clown Town. You take IPST, formerly known as CASK. It was laying there at 44 cents. Everybody knew they had a couple $100 million of the IP token. And then all of a sudden, because they changed the symbol, it's worthy of a triple the same day. And if you read the 8K like I did, they're doubling the authorization from almost 500 million to 1 billion shares. And oh, by the way, they just authorized a reverse split in a ratio, I believe, of 1-for-5 to no more than 1-for-20. In other words, massive dilution. And maybe that's what happened when it crashed from 130 down to 75 or thereabouts. Is coming along with a reverse split. When you get scenarios where stocks out of nowhere on symbol changes triple after laying at the same fucking price with the same amount of intel that was known by the public, and you've got people reaching out to me, calling me out that I've only had a 434% profit, do you realize how fucking dangerous that is? So I'm sitting 38% cash probably for the rest of this week until I find 2 stocks to replace the 2 that I just sold. And they're going to have to be absolutely motherfucking gutted. In fact, in the 272 wins against only 19 losses in the last 2 years, almost every single time we're buying at or near new lows. Open at 50 cents. I got out way too early. It went to 11. IXL on the Friday night flash crash, IXHL at 13. It went to $1.80. Nobody wanted CASK 3 days ago when I told you for the third time at 44 cents They suddenly had to have it at $1.30 and change. We have entered a phase of this melt up. And let us not forget, at 601 and change on the Qs, the fake trade war bear market low was 400. We've never had a 50% move higher in 4 months. I've never tripled my fucking money after 15xing it in 2 years. I've never made $250,000 trading up until recently and sent almost as much to the IRS. And I'm not a filthy rich motherfucking guy. In fact, after I get done paying my taxes in a taxable account, I'm probably going to be eating the infamous ramen noodles 10 for $1 right now at Walmart. But if you spike it with a can of tuna and a bag of frozen peas, and I'll even eat it in my bankrupt mini Mullen van, it's an excellent $2.55 fucking meal. I don't know about you, but I get really irritated when I see the government spending $200 on a fucking toilet seat or $800 on a hammer or laundering money overseas. And for anybody, and I empathize, believe me, with what's going on in Ukraine. But if anybody thinks that of the hundreds of billions that have went over there, some of that wasn't skimmed, probably a third, if not more. Going to the hidden hand, that's been going on for decades, if not centuries. I see around fucking corners. I started telling most of you in the last several years, flying cars and trips to fucking Mars. The same guy who watched the NASDAQ melt up 500% since then, the same guy who consistently says because of AI, demographics, $6 trillion of dumb retail money that's still on the sidelines, massive corporate buybacks, and many fewer IPOs than ever before means we're going a hell of a lot fucking higher, but not without a major rug pull here and there. We had one that was totally fake a few months ago. We bought it aggressively. I'm telling you right now, whether it's another Christmas massacre like 2018 or 19 when the NASDAQ went down 20% into the low of Christmas Eve, or if it's coming in January, there is a royal fucking beatdown coming, and it's probably going to be even nastier in crypto and small cap stocks. Because when people are calling me out over 434%. And by the way, when I started drilling down, he finally admits, well, I got divorced. I didn't have time to trade from here to there. That was a month and a half. How many wins did you have? 91, he says. I said, are you aware of the fact we have over 270? Well, I thought it was a bit more. So we ended up coming to somewhat of agreement. But I'm this close to throwing his fucking ass out. So if you guys and gals, in closing, inside of the Discord, ever wonder, why is he so fucking frustrated? Why is he tired? Don't you realize that most people are afraid to say shit like that on the wall? I fucking dare him to come out and say it. Share the same fucking email you sent me. Watch everybody tear your ass apart. People don't do that. They don't have the guts to do it in front of the team. So they send me, hey, please don't fire me, quote unquote, but not this guy. He starts off with, I'm calling bullshit on your 15X because I've only made 434%. When we get that kind of disrespect coming towards fucking me, it's not only a reason why I get angry as hell at times, but it's a major fucking warning flag. So anybody else out there that's willing to listen to me, be very careful over the next several weeks and a few months. We've gotten way out over our skis, and people that have no fucking idea what they're doing are not only telling guys like me who do, but they're putting money into stocks that are already up 3, 4, 5, 600% on the day. Take a look at FORD or Octo, currently known as Orbs. It went from $2 to $85 all the way back to fucking $12 a share. These insiders are raping the fucking public while the SEC looks the other way. Till next time, always remember that I love you. Thanks for watching.